The mask. An ancient headwear used for many things. Ancient rituals, hiding identities, or to look good at prom. But sometimes, the mask can grant you special attributes. Like these two. Rick Taylor, the beholder of the Terror Mask. And the Mask, the big-headed reality breaker. I'm one fish mob, and it's my job to see who would win in a fight. Throughout all of fiction, there has been many terrifying monsters, from the iconic Dracula to the flesh-eating Chud. But very few monsters can ever claim to be as brutal, as violent, as the mask-wearing brute known as Rick Taylor. But he wasn't always like this. Rick was once a man with a girlfriend named Jennifer. One night, trying to escape the rain, they wandered into a mansion in the woods for refuge. Only one problem. This was a literal house of the dead. Once they got in, the two were attacked, severely wounding Rick and taking Jennifer as a hostage. Rick was left for dead. But luck would transpire in his favor. Rick somehow acquired the mysterious mask which was possessed by an immortal interdimensional being that promised to help Rick get his girlfriend back. And without questioning, he put the thing on, transforming him into the hulking monster we all know today. But with this new monstrous form came many benefits. For one, he became much stronger. He can turn monsters into pools of blood with a simple punch and effortlessly rips and tears apart foes with his bare hands. He's also strong enough to smash through and lift large metal doors and break concrete. But he isn't just strong, he's also fast and agile. He's leapt over tall buildings in a single jump, dodged attacks from monsters and moved faster than them, can run at relatively fast speeds, and even climbed a tall building by jumping up it in a few seconds. Rick is also incredibly tough, having survived tremendous pummelings, massive falls, and even a meteor hitting his shoulder, which also completely skinned him in the process. And he just simply shrugged it off like nothing. But Rick isn't just all for fisticuffs. He carries an arsenal mainly composed of whatever he finds. The baseball bat is good for beating opponents silly, the sword, machete, and cleaver for cutting and chopping, the metal pipe for cracking skulls, a chainsaw to slice through enemies like butter, and a 2x4 capable of liquefying weaker enemies. Rick also knows how to operate firearms such as a double-barreled shotgun and the rifle. But his true powers come from the evil-looking headwear itself, the Terror Mask. It's this fancy trinket that guides Rick and grants him his superhuman stats. It even allows him to physically hurt ghosts. Not only that, the Terror Mask will also talk to and influence Rick as it guides his actions throughout his quest, and provides Rick a source of information about the creatures and locations they encounter. Speaking of special abilities granted by the Terror Mask, let's talk about his special powers. He has a shoulder tackle that liquefies certain enemies. His healing factor can repair and heal nearly any and all damage, including but not limited to torn off limbs, bones without flesh, holes in his body, and large chunks of missing flesh. Rick can also absorb his enemy's blood to gain access to more abilities, like the Splatter Siphon, where he makes massive bone spikes that shoot out of his body to drain his victim's blood. With Splatter Slash, he forms bone blades on his arms to cut down enemies with. With Splatter Smash, Rick can summon bone spikes from the ground to impale his enemies with. But his most devastating move is Splatter Kill, a brutality move where he tears his enemies apart in a style so brutal not even Mortal Kombat would use it. But this is far from his true potential. Once Rick gets enough power, he transforms into Berserker Rick. This form allows Rick to use Splatter Siphon and Splatter Smash a lot better and even gain an increase in strength, making him strong enough to, lift giant monsters. Heck, this form is so great, he reacted to and was fast, strong, and durable enough to catch a giant meteor and throw it back at the same speed it came at him. Speaking of insane feats, Rick has plenty of these around. Rick has slaughtered hundreds of monsters, fought in other dimensions and timelines, defeated a near-perfect clone of himself, rescued his girlfriend from Dr. West, and even defeated the Overlord, a giant monster made of an uncountable amount of monster corpses. But Rick is far from an efficient killing machine. Rick is far from a strategist, preferring to rush into battle with his fists drawn. He also needs a sufficient amount of blood to use most of his abilities, and if he takes enough damage, he will die. But Rick has proven himself to be a real monster. All of those who wish to oppose him must do so with caution. Throughout all of fiction, we've seen many mysterious artifacts, from crystal skulls to demon boxes, but few are as powerful or as versatile as the mask. How the mask was made does change with each variation of the story. In the original comics, it was created for rituals in Africa. In the films, it was created by Loki. No, not that Loki. That Loki. Regardless, the general gist is that a long time ago, somebody created a mask and imbued it with magic, and whoever wears the mask, regardless of who, is given powers of great might. Speaking of powers, let's get straight to it because the mask has a museum's worth. The mask grants the users powers that allow them to do nearly anything he or she wants, only being limited to their imagination. The mask has been known to lift upwards of 100 tons or even more on their heads. The mask can also break metal with ease and lift up massive guns of several varieties. The mask is also fast enough to run across cities in seconds and can easily dodge gun and laser fire. And even if the lasers or bullets do hit, it's unlikely to do anything to him. The mask seems to have a rubber-esque body which allows him to survive massive falls, makes him very pain resistant and unable to be hurt things like said bullets or lasers piercing him. He survived powerful explosions, including ones that leveled entire city blocks, and is almost immune to all enemy attacks. And even if you do hurt him, the mask can pretty much heal from anything. This ability makes the user effectively indestructible. And considering the wearers survived having their heads crushed, holes blown through one of their hands, shot by a shotgun twice, it's pretty understandable to see why. The mask is able to regenerate while the user's consciousness exists in the physical world, meaning the user can regenerate their physical body while in other dimensions and can regrow from nothing but a head. Heck, the mask even stated and shown he doesn't even need to wait for a new body to grow in his battle with Lobo. He can just make a new one appear instantly. The mask also never shows fatigue or signs of getting breathless, and is able to use various types of energy attacks by the rules imposed by the Unusual Sense. And despite being very, Tex Avery-ish, depending on the wearer, he can also gain increased intelligence. The mask can also warp the size of his body parts at will and really seems to like doing this with his head. He can change objects into other objects and can pull anything he desires from hammer space. He can change outfits in seconds, and some of these will give him special powers, and he can even change his own form. He can break out into musical numbers and pull others into them, create multiple clones of himself to seemingly infinite amounts, and much like Deadpool, is very aware of the audience. Heck, he can even grab speech bubbles and words and use them as weapons. But the mask's most notable attribute is its Toon Force. This reality-breaking power gives him a body like rubber, making him extremely malleable and also allows him to perform insane dodges. As for weapons and equipment, he can pull out or use anything he wants using hammer space. Horns, boxing gloves, guns, magic paint, you name it. As you could guess, the Mask is easily an impressive combatant. He fights monsters, aliens, and criminals on a constant basis, defeated Lobo, DC's equivalent to Wolverine, and anyone who wears the mask is capable of destroying the entire universe. However, the mask is far from flawless. The mask can only exist at night. If it becomes daytime, the wearer will revert to their normal form. And even though only the wearer can remove it, the mask can be removed, stripping the wearer of their powers. And while the mask has nigh infinite potential, it is limited by the wearer's imagination. Not to mention, the mask is somehow vulnerable to the flu and colds. The mask still bleeds like a normal person, and weapons that disturb the molecules of the user can remove the mask. But its biggest flaw is the fact it takes nothing seriously. The mask makes anyone who wears it becomes completely insane, and only persuasion or blackmail can convince the user to remove the mask. Regardless, this is one cartoony character you do not want to meet.
That's a spicy meatball!
Alright, the combatants are set. This battle will have no prep time, no outside help, or home field advantage. Let the battle begin.
Fight!
Well, there was no aping around in this fight. Anyways, why did the mask win? While both of the opponents were roughly equal in strength, and Rick was certainly the more brutal fighter between the two, the mask ultimately held the edge in speed, and his wide variety of reality-breaking powers were far more versatile and unpredictable when put up against Rick Taylor's powers and armory. Even in his berserker state, the only advantage Rick had was the fact he was a lot stronger. To simply put it, there was no real way for Rick to truly hurt the mask, but there was plenty of ways to hurt Rick. And yes, while Rick could easily just heal from all the damage the mask does to him, the mask can do this as well. Also note, while Rick can still be defeated by taking enough damage, the mask can't. The best chance Rick had at defeating the mask was to wait till daylight, but considering of how much more powerful the mask is compared to Rick, it's highly unlikely he would. Looks like this battle between masks was a real smash. The winner is the mask.
Who are you?
I've been asking the same question. Am I the son of a panda? The son of a goose? A student? A teacher? Turns out, I'm all of them.